Every single person you know will, at some point, move on without you. Not because they want to, not because you failed, just because that's what life does. And according to psychologists, the fear of that moment, of being left behind, is one of the most quietly destructive forces in the human mind. It doesn't announce itself. It just sits there, shaping every decision you make. You scroll through your phone at 11 p.m. and see photos from a dinner you weren't invited to. Your stomach drops. It's just a dinner. You know that. But something inside you doesn't care about logic right now. That feeling, that cold, hollow sensation, has a name. Psychologists call it FOMO in its lightest form. But underneath FOMO lives something older, something darker. It's called the fear of social exclusion, and your brain treats it exactly like physical pain. In 2003, researcher Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a study called Cyberball. Participants played a simple ball-tossing game with what they thought were other players online. Then, without warning, the other players stopped throwing the ball to them. They were left out of a video game. For 2 minutes. The brain scans showed activity in the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that lights up when you feel physical pain. Being left out didn't just hurt emotionally. To your brain, it hurt the same way a broken bone hurts. Think about that the next time you tell someone to just get over it. But here's what nobody tells you about this fear. It doesn't start at the dinner party. It doesn't start in adulthood. It starts much, much earlier. Developmental psychologists have tracked this fear all the way back to infancy. A baby left alone in a room doesn't cry because it's dramatic. It cries because, for most of human history, being separated from your group meant death. We are wired, literally wired, to panic when we feel left behind. John Bowlby, the British psychiatrist who spent decades studying attachment theory, argued that the need to belong isn't just emotional, it's biological. It's a survival mechanism baked into our nervous system over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. And here's the painful part. That ancient wiring doesn't know the difference between being abandoned in the wilderness and being the last one in your friend group to get married. Your nervous system responds the same way to both. Full alarm, full panic, full pain. 3 things make this fear worse than it's ever been. The first is comparison. For most of human history, you compared yourself to the people you could actually see, your village, your neighbors, your family. Now you compare yourself to everyone, simultaneously, in real time. In 2022, a study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology found that even 30 minutes of social media use per day significantly increased feelings of social exclusion and inadequacy in young adults. 30 minutes. You're not weak for feeling this way. You're human, running ancient software on a system it was never designed for. The second thing that makes it worse is silence. Nobody talks about being left behind. They talk about success. They post milestones. They announce arrivals. Nobody posts, "Just realized all my friends have grown in directions I haven't, feeling completely invisible tonight." So you assume you're the only one feeling it, and that makes it lonelier. But here's the truth, and this is backed by research, not just comfort. In a 2018 survey conducted by Cigna, involving over 20,000 American adults, 46% of respondents said they sometimes or always feel left out. Nearly half of all adults. Quietly carrying this. Alone. You are not the only one standing outside the window, looking in. The third thing is time. Because the fear of being left behind isn't just about people. It's about time itself. You watch someone younger than you achieve something you haven't yet, and a voice in your head whispers, "You're behind. You missed the window. It's too late." That voice is lying, but it's convincing. Here's where it gets complicated. This fear, as painful as it is, isn't purely destructive. It drives people hard. Psychologist Abraham Maslow placed belonging in the middle of his famous hierarchy of needs, above food and safety, below esteem and self-actualization. He believed the need to belong was one of the most powerful motivators in human behavior. And he was right. Studies show that the fear of social exclusion can push people to work harder, be more generous, and form deeper connections, when it's managed well. The key phrase is, when it's managed well. Because unmanaged, this same fear becomes something else entirely. It becomes the reason you stay in relationships that are wrong for you, because being alone feels like being left behind. It becomes the reason you chase careers, cities, lifestyles that belong to someone else's dream, because you're not building toward something, you're running away from being last. It becomes the reason you shrink yourself, dim yourself, make yourself smaller, because you'd rather fit in than stand out and risk being left alone. Psychiatrist Mark Banchik wrote in Psychology Today that many of his patients who struggled with chronic anxiety, people-pleasing, and self-sabotage traced it back to one core wound: the terror of being abandoned, of being left. Not the event itself, the anticipation of it. That's what this fear does at its worst. It doesn't wait for you to actually be left behind. It convinces you it's already happening. So what do you do with it? Not how do you eliminate it, because you can't. It's wired in. But how do you stop letting it run your life? The first thing is recognition. Name it when it shows up. This is my fear of being left behind talking. Not you, not reality. The fear. Neuroscientists call this affect labeling, and research from UCLA shows that simply naming an emotion reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, within seconds. You don't reason your way out of fear. You name your way through it. The second thing is harder. You have to grieve the timelines you thought you were supposed to follow. The one that said you'd be married by this age, successful by that age, settled, sorted, certain, by some deadline that nobody actually set, but everyone somehow agreed to. Those timelines were never real, but they felt real, and letting them go feels like a loss. That grief is real. Let it be real. The third thing, and this is the one that actually changes everything, you have to redefine what behind means. Behind implies a race, a single track, one direction, everyone moving toward the same finish line. But life isn't a race. It's more like a forest. Everyone's moving through different terrain, different speeds, different directions. The person you think is ahead of you, they're looking at someone else and feeling behind. It never stops, unless you decide to stop measuring. Here's what I want you to hold on to. The fear of being left behind is proof of something beautiful about you. It means you value connection. You want to matter to people. You want your life to mean something. That's not weakness. That's humanity. The problem was never the feeling. The problem is when the feeling becomes the architect of your entire life. When every choice is made in reaction to the fear, instead of in direction of the dream. One of the most quietly radical things you can do in a world that measures everything by speed and milestones and comparison, is to decide that you're exactly where you need to be. Not because life is perfect, not because the fear isn't real, but because the alternative, living your entire life in a panic about a race that doesn't exist, is the only way to truly, completely miss your own story. Remember where we started? That hollow feeling at 11 p.m., the dinner you weren't invited to, the stomach drop. That feeling will come back. It always does. But now you know what it is. You know where it comes from. You know it's ancient and human and shared by nearly half of every adult alive right now. And you know it's lying to you about the deadline. There is no deadline. There is only the life you're building, and the courage to keep building it, even when it looks nothing like anyone else's. That's not being left behind. That's just being you. If this hit something real for you, there's another video on this channel about why so many people feel like they're living someone else's life, and what it actually takes to find your own direction. I think you'll want to see it.